All right, my watch list for Monday, starting with LOCO. Now, again, this is just kind of chopping around, but one of these days, this thing might take off. Let's get a drawing tool going here. I mean, I'm not in love with this chart, but I think it bears watching. You've got that fairly tightening area here. So, you know, up over Friday's high in this area. This thing might take off. Anyway, I want to have that one on watch. INO, and I think there's kind of a slew of Ebola stocks, and I'm pretty sure that's why INO popped on Friday. Nice volume. There's not a lot in the way if this gets up over Friday's high, up over 1130. So that's something to watch. INO. LAKE is a very low float stock that if you get any major Ebola news in the United States, and I really, to be honest with you, I've been busy all weekend, so I haven't even checked. But we'll talk about it in chat and you know, on Monday. But you know, this is one that it's really kind of tightening, and if there's any major news, this thing could rip because it's really low float. It's not that hard to see there that it's, you know, it's in a tightening range. So you know, up through 9 on any volume one of these days, something to watch. Also down here near the bottom of that trend could be a good bounce play, but that's really news driven, so that's going to matter the most. Same with TKMR. Let me go back to daily charts here. TKMR, you know, it's definitely ahead of itself, but that's, you know, when you're in a live trading chat room, you know, and everyone's watching and posting news, you can get in some of these early if there's big news deals. So I also want to have TKMR on watch. DGLY makes my list again just about every day. I wouldn't look at this chart and be you know, be extremely enticed with it if I hadn't been following this the whole time. So you made this move from about $4 to whatever it was, 30, almost 34. All right, and then it's just almost straight down. Then you had the gap up, and now you're down like 5 or 6 days in a row again, getting pretty close to the 50-day. But this is one with the proper intraday setup, you can get a really nice trade. So I just have this one on watch every day. Didn't meet any of my entry parameters on Friday, but I'm still going to watch it, you know, all week this week. I bet you we get a nice trade in at least one day this week. You know, 6 monitors, so it only takes up one chart on one corner of one of my monitors. DGLY is pretty much always on watch for me. RWLK was on watch Friday, just another red day, so no trade in it, but I want to watch that one. It is down, you know, really in a tightening range. It's down to the bottom of that range. It's probably easier to see if you switch to like 15. Let's go to 30-minute candles. So it's coiled, but that doesn't mean it has to rip higher, right? It's just in a very tightening range. You kind of had equal tops there at 35. It could also break down to the downside. So again, you know, it has to be the right intraday setup for me to mess with it. Don't love that one. VSLR is interesting because a solar IPO looks like it opened on IPO day, which would have been Wednesday at 17, went up to 1871 and then closed at its lows. Small gap up Thursday, closed at its lows. Gap up on Friday, closed at its lows. And there is no other chart to go on. All right, but if there's any kind of solar rally, even without the solar space, just looking at this stock, even if they sold burgers or whatever, after the IPO, 3 days straight down, declining volume, it's starting to get interesting for a bounce. Like if this opens on Monday at 14 and just sells off hard, I'm going to be watching that sell off for a nice bounce, okay? Because it's due for a bounce. So anyway, again, not a lot of chart to go on, but I want to have it on bounce watch. GTLS just decimated, but finally kind of a narrow range on Friday. So I want to watch that one for a potential bounce. And then a cheapy CREG. I've been talking about this one in a lot of my videos lately. Haven't really had any trades in it, but it is putting in higher lows like I was looking for. And again, a coiled stock. So up in this area, and it had big volume on a couple of these pops. Up in this area, this one could kind of do a little short squeeze for us. So I want to have, kind of like DGLY, I want to have CREG on a chart pretty much every day. I'll tell you what, guys, I am not in love with my list for Monday, but I rarely am in love with my Monday lists. A lot of times just the weekend resets everything, and there's, even if something has a lot of passion on Friday, after the weekend, it's just, I think, human nature. There's just not as much passion on Monday. So I usually spend the first 30 minutes or so just feeling out the market. I won't be diving into anything the first 5 or 10 minutes, I promise you, on Monday morning. So we'll spend, the first 30 minutes feeling out the market, and then also, kind of building a list of intraday plays that aren't even on this list, right? Maybe something rips out of the gate on Monday morning, and that right there will give us something to look for a trade for the rest of the day. So that's kind of the way I approach Mondays, and then tomorrow we'll have a better list after we see what stands out, tomorrow from Monday's trading. It helps us build a list, and you get more momentum without the weekend in between. So let's just leave the list like that, and make note of my lack of enthusiasm for this list. But I bet you we still find some nice stuff to trade on Monday. All right, have a good night.